you don't need them to get a good score. Like you need to know how to work standardized tests, which is different than what you've been doing in the classroom.
Yeah.
A long time ago, I think that this was an issue. I think students thought like, well, should I guess or not guess? No, you could put an answer down for every question. All right.
Okay.
And this one really doesn't apply to you because you're a good math student. You're already an A/B student. A lot of students say, well, if I'm not good at math, I can't get a good score. No, you actually can get a good score if you know how to work the test. Okay. And really it is working the test. It's not, it's not, it's not a, like, and everyone can do better. Like everyone, like you gave me a score, you can do 10% better. Person who gets a higher score than you can still do 10% better. It all works out. So what do you need to do to get a better score? You kind of already talked about it. It's taking a class and getting some private tutoring. So in the class, like what we're going to talk about today, which I think we'll get to, is some test taking strategies. Okay. And the thing is, they apply to not just the math sections, but also the rest of the test. So you're going to learn stuff here and you'll be like, oh, I can use that in the other sections. And maybe some of these things you already know, but you'll become more fluent in them. Why do you want to know these strategies? Because they save you time. Time is working against you in these exams. In college, they also work against you. If you had unlimited time, you'd get a higher score, but you don't. And so you have to know some strategies here to get to where you can get the right answer faster and then move on to more questions. So the more questions you can solve, the better your score is going to be. You're not rushing at the end. That's another thing that happens when you take the test multiple times. A lot of students, the first time they take it, they don't even finish. Like, I didn't even finish. Well, of course you're not going to get your best score if you don't finish. The other thing we'll do here is we'll focus on some subject areas, like specific things. But they're taught in the context of like how to do a standardized test question. So like, it's not like, oh, we're going to learn quadratic formula. It's like we are, but in the context of how you answer it in a multiple choice question. So it's different than in the classroom. Very, very different. All right. Any thoughts on that before we move forward? Questions?
I think I'm good for now. Yeah.
Okay. So let me grab. It's already open. Okay. So what I think, and I'm sorry I'm giving you so much background. I mean, this is the first class, but you need to know that every question has a structure to it. Like, what do you mean by structure? Like they're all math questions. Well, no, they're not. They're actually is a structure to all of these. And these are my words, not yours. And some of these you already know. Like this down here is called the answer space. Okay, and it's multiple choice, and you know that. And you know that there's also what are called free response questions, fill in the bubble questions. On the ACT, it's all multiple choice. The SAT, it's you could have some free response. So every problem has that. You're like, okay, great. Now, what you may not realize is that every single problem has the name I give it is a call to action. And this is actually one of the first test taking strategies we're going to look at is the call to action, which means that there's a lot of stuff at the top, and then there's the thing that you actually have to do. And I once was helping a student in some sort of a law class on Embry-Riddle, and the professor wrote these really long prompts. It was a writing class, really long prompts. And like the thing he wanted the answer, you had to like flip the page over and then go all the way down to the bottom, and it would be like something really straightforward. But in these standardized test questions, they often give you a lot of information, what I call the prompt, which is like this like introductory information. You really want to go right to what's called the call to action. Like you want to go right to the thing where they're asking you what to do. Okay. So that and that is our first test taking strategy we're going to look at today. All right. So it's really simple. You read the call to action first. Okay. So what does that mean? Well, typically you start by reading the last sentence of the prompt first. Like you don't read these things from top to bottom. You go right for the question. Okay, and you'll see that in a moment here. Okay. And the reason is sometimes you don't need to read the rest of it. You just need to know what it's asking you to do. Like, have you ever heard someone say cut to the chase?
Yeah.
So what they mean by that is like, I don't need all the information. Just tell me what you want me to do, right? And that's what I'm implying here. Sometimes you do need to go back and read the rest of the prompt, and you'll see what I mean here when I give you some examples. Now, why would you do this? Well, the way your brain works, the way my brain works, everyone's brain works, is as soon as you're given a question, your brain starts to process it. It starts to say like, well, how do I answer it? What do I need to do? This all happens internally, subconsciously. We don't have to think about that. When you go back and read the prompt from the beginning, your brain starts to look for the information to answer the question. So notice this works really well in the reading section. Like if you go and you actually read the questions in the reading section first, then read the passage, your brain will know what to look for. So pick that if you get a little bonus here in the reading section. Then you need to decide if you're going to read the call to action again. So you basically read the call to action, go back to the beginning, and then read it again. So it reemphasizes what you are looking for. Okay. So
Okay.
does this strategy work for everything? No, it works for story and word problems. Okay. And guess what you get a lot of in SAT, ACT, which is why most students don't do well, is because they're almost all story/word problems. So let's take a look at an example here. I'm going to highlight the call to action. So as hard as it is, try not to read the rest of it. Can you just read that part out loud that I've highlighted?
What is M when L is 73?
Right. And they're referring back to this equation right there. All right, they're giving you L. L is the value, then 73. So now let's read the words. Let's go back to the prompt. So what I call the prompt actually starts up here, which is the equation. And then let's start reading here. One end of a spring is attached to a ceiling. When an object of mass m kilograms is attached to the other end of the spring stretches to a length of L centimeters as shown in the equation above. Is any of that helpful for what we need to do?
No.
So why did we read it?
Yeah.
The answer is because our brains have been trained to read from top to bottom, left to right. But if you can train yourself to read the call to action first, you will save time. You're like, okay, L is 73. And I need to solve for M. Okay. So I'd like you to do that, and you're welcome to use a calculator. I don't actually know if there's a calculator problem or not. Doesn't matter. If you need a calculator, grab one, use it. But could you solve this for M, please?
A.
Okay, so your answer is A. And how confident are you in your answer?
Confident.
Good. Okay. All right. So let's look at another example here. All right. So again, if you can go right to the call to action, the question, I mean, it is a question, but the actual written question, what is P in terms of T? What that is telling you to do is to solve for P. Do you agree with that?
Yeah.
So why would you read the rest of this? Well, you shouldn't, but guess what most students do? How to store a code originally, and you get tired. You get tired when you read, especially if you got to read a lot of these, especially if you've been already doing the reading section, or you need to limit how much you do. So could you solve this equation for P and tell me which is the correct answer?
P is D.
Now, I don't know that this would be written this way on the test. Like they might like reformat it where they convert this to a fraction and then kind of rewrite it. So Good. So, and it just, to be fair, like these are not the most difficult questions in the world. These are just questions where I'm trying to show you the value of using this strategy. Okay?
Yeah.
So, here's a first problem for you to try on your own. Just center it here. This is a free response question. Go ahead and solve this for me, please.
$36 centimeters cubed.
Yes. Very good. So you can see how, like, if you read all this, I know it's not a lot of work, it's not a lot of time, but it's some time, right? It's some amount of time that you're gaining. And if you do this on enough problems, you gain an extra, 3-4 minutes that you can answer another question. And that's why this strategy is so useful. Okay. But it doesn't work for everything. Like it doesn't like the problem here is to think, oh, I'll just use this strategy on every problem. Like, well, it works on some, but not all. And so, at first you think, oh, this is great. I'm going to get my best score ever. And then you realize like, well, it doesn't work for everything. But here you go. It says, what does 12 represent in the equation? It's like, well, where's the equation? Well, there it is right there. P equals 15n plus 12. I don't know what it is. So it's this one you actually do have to go back and read. But like I said, your brain is now trained to, okay, I'm looking for 12. 12 is this number. It's like the B value, the intercept or something. So I want you to try reading this question and seeing if you can answer it now that you kind of know what you're looking for.
B.
You are correct. All right. Here's a new problem for you to try. If you can't tell, you're going to be doing a lot of problems as part of this. Like that is your practice, is doing a lot of problems here. So give this one a try. Again, I recommend starting with the call to action first.
B.
You are the first person I have helped with this that has gotten this problem correct. How did you do that?
Really?
Yes. Now it's not a difficult problem. Like, let's not get too excited here, but like there's something about this problem where people give me the wrong answer over and over again. I'm so curious how you did it to know um, how you got the right answer.
Um, I took, it's really stupid, but I took 2 out of 11 and just rounded it down to 2 out of 10, which is 20%. And 18 was the closest, and it made the most logical sense to pick that. So,
Excellent. And that is a test taking strategy. So what you just did there using estimation is the test taking strategy. It's an
okay.
important one. The fact that the answers are not close together allows you um, to do that, to like um, it's not like there's 18%, 20%, 19%. Like they're far enough apart that you can use that. And you can actually use estimation on them. Remember when I said in the beginning, you don't really need a calculator to do it?
Mhm.
That's exactly why. The answers aren't close enough together that you're going to ever have an issue if you have reasonable estimation. And not everyone has reasonable estimation, but that's, I can't help that. All right. I'm going to just step away for 30 seconds, but I'll be right back and we'll keep going here with questions. But give me just a moment, please.
Okay.
All right. You doing okay with the format tonight?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So here's another question for you to look at. They're going to get increasingly more difficult, but none of these are so difficult that you shouldn't be able to do them at this point. Again, I recommend reading that call to action first and not focusing on all the other stuff. That way you know what to go back and look for.
Means the average, right?
Good question. Yes, that is the average.
A.
Is A. Excellent. Really good. Okay. All right. Is this okay? Like this is not too dull? Because I got, well, actually, let's keep going here. This is actually going the way it's supposed to go. Meaning we're getting through the questions. So here's another question to think about.
B. Oh wait, no. C. Sorry.
Why did you initially choose B? Or if you don't mind,
Um, I accidentally looked at when she started having lunch instead of when she finished lunch.
right. So she starts and she stops. Good, really good. Okay, now I alluded to this earlier, and you already know the answer to this, but do it anyways. Does the strategy always work? It's like this, does it always work? Like, no, the answer is no, but it works a lot, but doesn't work for everything. So, there's always a counterexample. So I'm going to work through this counterexample with you and show you the danger of just blindly applying the strategy. Okay. And it's not meant to tell you like, oh, don't use it. It's just like, just be careful. It says, what is the probability to the nearest hundredth of selecting a school in San Diego County? Okay. So here is San Diego County right here. And so there's 854 in San Diego County out of 3,241 total. All right. Could you calculate that for us, please?
Yeah. It would be C.
Okay, wait, give me the number first.
Oh,
What is 854 divided by
0
3,200?
0.26349.
Okay, so let's go 0.26. Now, what you did is you said, oh, it's near that. Now here's the thing though, when you use a calculator, you could get exactly the right answer. Like unless it says unless they tell you in here that it's estimated. Okay. But the thing is, I want you to see here, this is a counterexample. So the strategy doesn't work. This answer is not here. Like I know it's near 0.28, but it is not there. And when you calculate it exactly, it better be there. So that means there's something wrong. It's like, what do we do wrong? Well, like I said, the strategy doesn't always work. If we go back and read, it says a public middle school will be selected at random from the two counties. What is the probability to the nearest hundredth of selecting a school? So what it really should say is a middle school from San Diego County. Now, is it deceptive? maybe, I can't say, I don't love this question, but so what they're really asking you to do is look here and say, okay, there are 165 San Diego middle schools out of 587. Now, could you
Mhm.
calculate that for us, please?
Mm-hmm. 165 middle schools out of 587.
Yes, yes.
0.281.
0.28, which is the correct answer. Now you gave me 0.26, which if you chose 0.28, you get the right answer, but for the wrong reason. And that, I mean, that does happen. So don't, that's kind of okay, but you want to be really, really careful.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Meaning
in
like,
situations like this, I'd have to read the whole question.
well, think about how many we just did in a row that worked. We did like 8 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Like, unless you want the perfect score, which you don't need. I don't know what you're trying to go for, but like, you don't need a perfect score. Nobody cares about your SAT score after you get to college, but if you care about it right now, like, that's fine. You should use this strategy, but keep in mind, like, there will be a problem where it doesn't work or it works against you. So, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work for everything all the time, but you will look at problems differently now. So
Okay.
here's another kind of counterexample. So, let me paste this in here, meaning you can't just read this and answer it. You have to actually go back and look at the full question. But go ahead and see if you can give this a try, please.
Is it C?
Let's see. Yes, very good. How did you come up with that?
14.5 times 8 is 116. And then 12 times 7 is 84. And then I subtracted those two numbers and I got 32.
All right, very good. Okay, so let's look at some more questions here. Um, so hang on just a second. Actually, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, I am back. Apologize for the delay. So, feel like you have this strategy down. Okay. So normally I would summarize it, but this went really fast, so I don't need to do that. So then every math and every lesson, I always try to throw in some sort of a math review. So the review here for us will be there's this big push in your Algebra 1 class to talk about linear versus exponential. I don't know if you remember that at all towards the end of the school year.
Yeah.
It's like, is it linear? Is it exponential? And what's the difference? Well, linear means it's a constant rate of change. Okay, that's your y equals mx plus b. So that means it goes down by the same amount or up by the same amount each time period. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So what is exponential? Well, and then graphically, it either goes up or graphically it goes down. Okay. Now, exponential is a percentage change. Okay, and usually you see words like double, triple, half, third, things like that. And the graphs look like this. They either grow or they decay, growth or decay. Okay. So there's this big push in Algebra 1 for that. And we're going to look at some problems now with that. So you're welcome to try and use the strategy that we've talked about, which is to read the call to action first. But not all of these will work like that. Like some are just purely like linear versus exponential. Okay.
Mhm.
So it's up to you. Like I can't say like, oh, always use the strategy. You kind of have to do that. So go ahead and take a look at this question and see what you come up with. Um,
Would exponential be the percentage ones?
yes, yes.
Okay.
So that's good. That means you're it's not A and it's not B.
So it's D because it's
Why is it D? What's the
decreases.
word there? Yes,
D.
decreases means less. Yes, perfect. Okay, and that's, I mean, that is a question you might see. All right, so here is another one for you to look at.
Increasing linear?
Yes, you got it. Okay, and some of that, yeah, what words did you use up in the prompt to figure that out?
The 112 billion tons, which means it's linear because it's the same amount every year.
That's right.
And
And then
then
this,
the fact that it
the,
increased.
yeah, so the increase gets you down to, um, uh, you know, B and D.
Mhm.
All right, great. So you're doing excellent. I think you got that part down. So let's go to, and this is like, you'll get one question on your test on exponential versus linear. So here we go. Let's take a look at another example here. Take a look at that and let me know what you come up with.
C.
Okay, and how confident are you in your answer?
Pretty confident.
Okay, so why did you choose C? What is it about the
The
information here that,
fact that it said doubles each year.
that's right, that's right. Okay, very good. Okay, so you might get a problem with the graph, you might get a problem with an equation. And so here's one where the answers are all equations. What you should notice is that the first two are linear and the second two are some sort of exponential. So if you can figure out whether it's linear or exponential, you get it down to two answers. All right, so give this one a try, please.
Is C
So how do you know it's exponential? What is it in here that,
doubles in size?
okay, okay, I agree. Now, Now, so how do you choose between C and like what is different between C and D?
One's multiplying and one's dividing the population. And because double
Okay,
is multiplying, it would be C.
all right. So, but it doubles every 12 years
Mhm.
and it's N years after 2014. So so 12 times 12 is 144. 12 divided by 12 is 1. So in one of these, it's going to be 2 to the 144 power, which is way more than double, versus 2 to the 1 power.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's where one of the strategies we'll look at in a future class is what is the difference between, like how do you distinguish between these? And and to do that, you have to say, well, what's multiplying, what's dividing, why, and we'll get, we'll get around to that.
Okay.
All right. Here's another problem for you to look at here. Take a look at that and let me know what you come up with.
Is it C?
Right. So how did you come up with C? What did you do to decide that it's exponential?
Uh, First I tested the linear by subtracting each
Okay.
number,
And
and
it
then I
works for the
realized
first
after
one.
the first one,
Yeah.
it need like both A and B doesn't work.
Right.
So then I tried multiplying each number by 0.03 and C worked. So I didn't try B.
Hopefully you meant 1.03.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, so 0.03 gives you the difference, but if you want to get the new number, you add 1 to it like that. So yes, it is letter C. Very good. So you're doing really well with how much time you're taking. In terms of time management, you want to generally take about 1 minute per question, which actually is not very much because by the time you read it, you don't have much time to do calculations, but you're doing really well doing that. When you look at this question here, it's the same type of question. There's 2 exponentials and 2 linears. And this is one of those where you don't just try the answers because they're too complicated. We mentioned that as a false or misconception about the exam. You really do want to decide, is it linear? Is it exponential? Basically, you're creating a fork. Is it linear? Is it exponential? And that helps you to figure out, what to do next, whether you can eliminate answers or write the equation. But take a look and let me know what you come up with.
Uh, I know it's linear, but I don't know how to solve it without testing it after that.
So if you know that it's linear, then you can, at least you're down to 2. So if you try C and it doesn't work, then you know it's D. Or if you try C and it does work, then you know it's D. But you got to be careful with testing, and we'll talk about that in a future class. You can't just test, like you generally don't test the first one because it'll maybe work in both. You may want to
Mhm.
try like one that's a little more awkward. Um, they kind of say don't test, 0 or 1 in these things. But 4 is pretty safe, 3 is pretty safe.
Okay. So do we substitute
Yeah,
4
I,
instead
I
of
would put four,
X?
I would put 4 in for X and then, or in 4 in for X and see if either of these work out.
And am I supposed to be getting 5 if I put in 4? Or
No, okay. So, um, I'm glad you're asked because this. So what you're supposed to you're supposed to get 4. You're supposed to get 53 over 4. Does that equal 3/4 times 4 plus 2?
oh, okay, like that.
Another thing here is it's better to divide before multiplying. So those cancel. 3 plus 2 is 5. That is definitely not that.
Would be D.
So and yeah, and so if you believe you did this correctly, and you should, that's why I keep asking how confident you are when you do a question or in your answer. You should have full confidence in yourself here, because you don't need to then check that it works in D. Like it's kind of like a light switch. It's either on or it's off, or off and it's on. You don't have to wonder,
Hmm.
and you shouldn't. And that's another reason why I have to take the test more than once, is to like buy into these strategies. Like, yeah, it's D. Even though I didn't check for sure that it's D, it's not A and B and it's not C. Therefore, it must be D.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so let's see if I can find one more question for us to do. Um, here's throw a few more of these in. We'll close out here, and in a minute. As a reminder, the lessons are 50 minutes, so we're about done here. But give this one a try,
Okay.
please.
D,
How did you come up with D?
because 74 or greater are the last two boxes, and 4 plus 3 equals 7.
Yes, good. Okay, so like normally I end the class by reminding you to make sure that you register for the test. Do you know where to register for the test?
Isn't it College Board?
Yes. And they have dates, and you cannot be late. They don't give you any grace. The ACT gives you like a late option, but then charges you more. But register for the test. One of the reasons you do that is when you register, you then know you're taking it, and your whole mindset changes. You realize like you got to start practicing and studying and all that. If you don't have if you don't register for the test, you don't. It's out there, and don't care. So register for
Yeah.
the test. 1 to 2 lessons per week is what most students do to get their best score. In about 2 months, you'll have so much knowledge, you'll go in there and get your best score ever, is what typically happens. And so as a reminder here, I'll send you the notes to the lesson here right after. And then I'll also send you a link to the the screen recordings on my YouTube channel. Please subscribe, please like your videos. They are your videos, so that's always
Okay.
appreciated.
Yeah.
That'll do it for us for today. So I will see you next time, whenever that is.